day after Russia celebrated its Victory Day parade, the United States of America and the United Kingdom have vowed to continue supporting Ukraine until the conflict ends. Well, Washington has announced that it will provide $1.2 billion more in long-term military aid to Ukraine in a bid to further bolster its air defenses as Russia continues to pound Ukraine with drones, rockets, and surface-to-air missiles.
This package, which totals up to $1.2 billion, is being provided under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. This UAI package underscores the continued U.S. commitment to meeting Ukraine's most urgent requirements by committing critical capabilities, such as air defense systems and munitions, while also building the capacity of Ukraine's armed forces to defend its territory and deter Russian aggression over the long term.
Well, the aid package will be provided under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. The Pentagon has said it will fund air defense munitions and drones for air defense and provide equipment to help modify Western air defense launchers, missiles, and radars so that they can be used with Ukraine's systems. Well, British Foreign Minister James Cleverly also said that the US and UK have strategic endurance to support Ukraine in the ongoing war. Joining Blinken during a news conference, Cleverly said that both the countries will continue to support the country in spite of the outcome of the forthcoming offences.
From the UK's point of view, we'll of course also continue to provide financial and military aid. We intend to give the Ukrainians the tools they need to successfully defend themselves against the invasion. And we need to continue to support them, irrespective of whether this forthcoming offensive generates, huge gains on the battlefield, because until this conflict is resolved and resolved properly, it is not over.
It's also important to note here that the military aid from the UK and US, it comes amid financial crisis in both countries. Intense negotiations are on in the US over raising the debt ceiling. The UK faces a major cost of living crisis. Meanwhile, the European Union is preparing an 11th round of sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine, with the key focus being on preventing further circumvention of sanctions by their third states and firms. The EU has so far slapped 10 rounds of sanctions on Russia. These comprise of listings of individuals, export and import bans as well. Well, for more, I'm joined by Scott Lucas, Professor of International Politics from the Clinton Institute at the University College Dublin. Thank you so much indeed for your time, joining us from Birmingham today. As I just said there, obviously the situation's going on in the US with the debt ceiling. We've got a cost of living crisis here. Do you think it's absolutely crucial that we do send this much needed aid to Ukraine?
Well, I think first and foremost is what the situation is in Ukraine. And the fact is that as we now are in the 15th month of Vladimir Putin's invasion, we are in a position where Russia really cannot advance any farther. The Russian offensive is exhausted. And the question is about a Ukrainian counteroffensive, which we expect, we don't know when, but sometime this spring or this summer. And for that type of counteroffensive, you need to make sure that you've got supplies. We have seen the delivery of tanks, battle tanks, finally, from European countries. We've seen the first MiG-29 fighter jets in Ukraine in the past 2 weeks. There will be more to come. I think the question of the economic situation in the U.S. and the U.K., it's a bit of a red herring. In the U.S., there's not really an economic crisis. Inflation is coming down in the U.S. The economy is in pretty good shape. There's a political crisis because House Republicans are threatening to basically halt government. That's not really an economic issue as much as the Trumpists trying to cause trouble for the Biden administration. In the U.K., we do have an ongoing economic crisis here. We've got problems with supplies. We've got problems with cost of living. We've got problems with energy. But that's primarily because of Brexit. It's not because of the Ukraine war. So to say that, the U.S. and the U.K. are in trouble because they're giving provisions to Ukraine, it's not only diversionary, it's flat out wrong. And remember, it's not just the U.S. and the U.K. providing military aid. We're talking about the European Union. We're talking about other countries, non-EU countries in Europe. We're talking about aid coming from as far away as Japan and South Korea now. So this really is an international coalition behind Ukraine's resistance, and potentially its counteroffensive.
Okay, lots of points that you made there. Thank you for that. I just want to sort of unpack lots of that. As you say, the situation here in the UK is very different because we've also got Brexit, as you highlighted as well, which you're saying is maybe one of the main causes of our current situation. The US still, the richest country in the world by some margin, as you say. It's a political issue there. What can happen now then? As you say, we're 15 months on now, lots of support is being given to Ukraine from across the globe. Do you think maybe now it's time for diplomacy, or has it gone too far for that?
You don't need to have me ask me that question. You need to ask Vladimir Putin that question. There is one person here who could halt this. It's the man who started the invasion in February 2022. But the problem for Vladimir Putin is that he did not succeed in quickly conquering Kiev and getting rid of the Zelensky government. Indeed, his troops have been forced to withdraw from all of northern Ukraine, from parts of southern Ukraine and parts of the northeast. And he doesn't want to lose face. So in a position such as Bakhmut, there are human wave attacks with Russia taking casualties, high casualties, just to try to take a single city. If and when Vladimir Putin is ready to accept that he has failed, yes, it will absolutely be the case for negotiations, the time for negotiations. But those negotiations must start with a diplomacy which says that the Russian occupiers have to withdraw. There is no way that Ukraine is going to begin to negotiate if Russian troops are in any territory that they've taken in the past 15 months.
Okay, Scott Lucas, thank you so much. There's so much I want to ask. We could talk all day, but we're out of time. Thank you so much. That's Scott Lucas, Professor of International Politics from the Clinton Institute, University College Dublin. Thank you for your time.